I'm not leaving till I see the real you. Get up!
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking our best as we slay any and all gods that have the misfortune of crossing our paths with the greatest costumes and unlockable skins in the God of War franchise.
Zeus! Your son has returned. I bring the destruction of Olympus!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Battle Armor of Aries, God of War Ascension.
For what you've taken, I owe you that.
Although Ascension is looked down upon as the lowest point in the franchise before its 2018 pseudo reboot, the game still features the same great combat encounters the series is known for, as well as some pretty impressive unlockables, armors, and skins. The Battle Armor of Aries is unlocked by players simply completing the campaign and can be used in a second playthrough or the game's bizarre multiplayer. The armor makes Kratos almost completely unrecognizable as the distinct armor covers his usual scowl and shields him from basically head to toe. The armor can also be leveled up, but only in multiplayer, increasing the amount of physical damage with each upgrade. Apollo, God of War 3.
My vengeance ends now.
Originally only available for those who pre-ordered the game through Amazon, the Apollo armor was released for all players later in 2010. One of the most striking armors in the game, the Apollo armor stands out with its brilliant golden sheen while maintaining the distinctive Spartan aesthetic. The armor even affects Kratos' appearance, giving him golden eyes to match the set. Unfortunately, the armor does have its handicaps. When wearing this particular set, not only does Kratos do half his normal damage, but enemies do as well, meaning each encounter becomes as much about endurance as it does skill. This armor will also disable trophies, so maybe save it for a second playthrough. Dark Odyssey, God of War 2. Some of the coolest skins are understandably kept behind some of the series' greatest challenges. The Dark Odyssey costume can only be unlocked after beating God of War 2 on God mode, but it's more than worth it for dedicated fans. Not only does the skin transform Kratos from the Ghost of Sparta to the Shadow of Sparta, Kratos' attack strength is doubled, and the number of red orbs he can receive is significantly increased. Which will come in handy since in addition to those bonuses, Kratos' defense is halved, so you're going to need all the help you can get during your next playthrough. Fun fact, the working title for the original God of War was in fact Dark Odyssey. Mime of War, God of War Chains of Olympus. Just because Kratos is super serious all the time, doesn't mean the player has to be. While initially nothing more than a joke costume for the future God of War, the Mime of War costume isn't quite the humiliation it first appears, as the costume greatly increases the number of red, green, and blue orbs the player receives during normal gameplay. The only major downside is due to Kratos now taking his new profession as a mime very seriously, all of his weapons and the sun shield are invisible, increasing the game's difficulty if you're not fully aware of the true reach of Kratos' attacks. Cod of War, God of War 2.
I knew you could not be killed. I never lost faith.
Return to Sparta and prepare for battle. But our brothers are dead. You can still hold the sword. Spartans do not surrender.
Making fantastic use of a play on words, the Cod of War costume is described as Kratos' life has always been an upstream battle, which is just as hilarious as the costume itself. With Kratos donning a full blue fish costume, the Cod of War looks more like a fishing pier mascot than a god on a path of revenge. In addition to doubling the amount of red orbs Kratos can acquire, the costume also replaces his recognizable blades of Athena with a set of fish hooks just to perfectly round out the ensemble. This costume was so beloved it even saw a return of sorts in God of War 2018 and was one of the strongest armor sets in the game. Morpheus Armor, God of War 3.
You challenge me, mortal? A god of Olympus?
The mid-2000s were a wild time for cross-promotions for video games, and God of War 3 was no different. Only available for those who bought enough Slurpees from 7-Eleven to earn 10 points and then purchased the code for the costume from the Slurpee website, the Morpheus Armor was thankfully made available for everyone in late 2010, much like the Battle Armor of Aries. The main attention-grabbing aspect of the Morpheus Armor is how it changes Kratos' tattoo from red to blue, which was actually part of his original design. The armor also, much like many others, doubles the number of red orbs Kratos can receive during normal gameplay, with the trade-off of making trophies unobtainable.
You still appear to be an Olympian.
Appearances can be deceiving, Kratos.
Kraken Armor, God of War Ascension. Many of the best costumes pulled directly from the lore of the games themselves, and the Kraken Armor makes the most out of its concept. Raised from the depths of Poseidon's domain, the armor is clad in tentacles resembling the mighty Kraken, and even has an enormous eyeball adorned to the right shoulder pad. Covered in spines and scales, the armor is unlocked by simply beating the campaign, and is also available in multiplayer, but only for those who pledge allegiance to Poseidon. The armor is also available in a golden variation, although there's no change to its stats besides looking fabulous! Phantom of Chaos, God of War 3.
The death of Olympus means the death of us all.
Then prepare for your death, Poseidon.
Some of our favorite costumes call back to Kratos' origins and his original concept designs, and that's exactly what the Phantom of Chaos armor set is. The armor not only changes Kratos' appearance, but also his physicality as well. Kratos' original design was much slenderer, and the Phantom of Chaos reflects this original intention, as well as giving Kratos a much more animalistic style, with pieces of armor being fashioned from many different animals as opposed to his more traditionally clean and militaristic Spartan armor. The set also comes with the bonus of increasing red orb consumption by 500%, although like all special armor sets in God of War 3, trophies are disabled when wearing the set.
Understand this, Athena. Zeus will die.
Deos, God of War 3.
My death will not lead you to Zeus. That is where you are wrong.
Although Kratos' long-lost brother is also available as an unlockable in Ghost of Sparta as well, his glow-up in HD on the PS3 is our favorite. This is one of the few costumes that completely changes Kratos' appearance to that of his presumed dead, and now truly dead, Spartan brother. To play as Deos in Kratos' last Greek adventure, players needed to obtain a code and copies of the PSP game Ghost of Sparta. But this was only a limited time promotion, which has since become available to all players. For fans of Ghost of Sparta, it can be a bit jarring hearing Kratos' voice come out of Deos, but the increases to damage as well as a 400% increase to health and orb consumption make it worth it. Tyconius, God of War.
I will send you back to the depths of Hades!
As is becoming increasingly evident today, video games are a business, and Kratos knew this even back in the original 2005 God of War. With this costume, Kratos goes from the Ghost of Sparta to the Wolf of Wall Street, and goes full American Psycho in a three-piece. Unlocked only after completing the Challenge of the Gods, Kratos hangs up his Blades of Chaos for a pair of shiny briefcases, which in addition to dealing out double damage, are also increasing Kratos' profits as he receives 4 times the normal amount of red orbs. As with business, however, Kratos doesn't get all of this without some kind of deal, and in this case, his defense is lowered quite significantly. Spud of War, God of War, Chains of Olympus. One of the most appealing costumes in Kratos' wardrobe, whenever he's feeling salty, he'll show those spuds they're in for a rude awakening and that he's anything but a couch potato. He's more than ready to bake them a thing or two with his potato peelers, and he'll Julian some justice and leave them completely roasted. Not that he needs any help, but the fight would be over before it could even start, as the Spud comes fully loaded with 4 times the damage resistance as well as infinite magic, leaving Kratos plenty of chances to get cooking. If you've ever wanted to see Kratos peel back the layers on his enemies, this Spud's for you. God of War Armor, God of War 2.
No, not you again!
Players don't really get a lot of time with Kratos in his God Armor at the start of God of War 2 before it, like all of his powers, are stripped away. Only available in the main game after the player earns a God ranking or higher in the Challenge of the Titans mode, this is by far the best optional armor for those looking to replay the campaign on the hardest difficulties. The armor doubles every one of Kratos' stats, giving players complete access to the true power of the God of War. This is as close as the series has ever come to giving players access to God mode. Kratos, God of War, Chains of Olympus. It's not a dress, it's a kilt! Straight from the motherland, Kratos dons the colors of the Highlands and proves that they may take his land, but they may never take his freedom. Sporting a glorious red beard, Kratos storms the battlefield with his dual axes so that none in his path may stand. The mighty Scottish wind beneath his kilt gives 4 times the strength of a normal Spartan, and the only way the developers could curb his bloodlust was only allow him half the amount of green and blue orbs. Bless me, bagpipes. Chef of War, God of War. Hold on, let him cook. The Chef of War makes Kratos a threat both in and out of the kitchen. With his trusty blades replaced with frying pans, Kratos and his new attire give him all the ingredients he needs to serve up some vengeance, nice and cold. With 4 times the number of blue orbs and double the green, this Master Chef won't need any additional strength or bonuses to turn all of Greece into a kitchen nightmare and prove once and for all that he is the top chef. Athena, God of War 2. Kratos is pretty short on allies throughout the Greek saga, but Athena was one of the few gods to stand by him even at his most vengeful. It cost her her life, but she still stood by him nonetheless. For Athena's last appearance on this earthly plane, players can unlock the ability to play as the goddess Athena in God of War 2 by completing the game on Titan mode. Swapping Kratos' blades for Athena's swords, the costume also gives a boost to any orbs collected, but does slightly lower the player's defense. Hearing Kratos' voice screaming from Athena's model will never not be jarring, but at least the main cinematics with Kratos are intact, so there's no extra timeline shenanigans in which Athena kills Athena. Dairy Bastard, God of War. Move on over, Aries. There's a new God of War in the pasture, and he's gonna give you the whole ass whooping, not just 2%. Unlocked after beating the Challenge of the Gods, the suit does much more than give Kratos a boost to his calcium. In addition to making him the unofficial mascot for Dairyland, the Dairy Bastard doubles his orbs collection and grants him unlimited magic. Yet, in an utterly unfortunate trade-off, his damage output is reduced by half, so you can bet his enemies will be milking that flaw for all it's worth. Fear Kratos, God of War 3. One of the boldest designs for Kratos in God of War 3, the Fear skin is unlocked by simply beating the game, and is the same skin Kratos wore while reliving his guilt near the end of the game. While this new look for Kratos will undoubtedly strike fear into the many enemies Kratos encounters, it is the God of War who should be terrified. In addition to granting Kratos a staggering 400% increase in damage, he too in turn will receive 400% damage from enemies, making the use of the Fear skin essentially like playing the game on Give Me God of War difficulty by default.
You aspire to be an Olympian. Yet their reign is ending, Hercules.
Robotis, God of War, Ghost of Sparta. Processing. Mercy does not compute. Robotis is certainly one robot who does not adhere to Asimov's laws of robotics. And even though he looks like he could give Cartman's Osimo a run for his circuits, simply unlocking this cardboard automaton requires some impressive skill and coding. Only unlocked after paying 250,000 red orbs in the Temple of Zeus, Robotis is able to calculate some of the longest combos in the game by manipulating the time between hits at the cost of his damage output and an increased cost to his magic. Bubbles, God of War. Given all Kratos has been through, can you really blame the guy for trying to sneak a vacation in? After beating the challenge of the Gods mode, Kratos is ready for the beach with a fresh tan, a scuba mask and snorkel, and a pair of flippers to slap some sense into anyone who interrupts his well-deserved R&R. Along with an increase to the number of green and blue orbs Kratos can collect, Bubbles is also one of the few costumes in which once his blades, or in this case flippers, are upgraded, they transform into a pair of fish for even more slapstick chaos. Young Kratos, God of War Ragnarok.
As evenings go, that was entirely too eventful. Though I admit it was a bit like old times there, for a moment.
We're all big fans of Daddy Kratos, but given the stakes of the impending Ragnarok, having the fierce young warrior Spartan general leading the way feels much more appropriate. Unlocked after finishing Kratos' journey of discovery through Valhalla, the bloodthirsty God of War stands in stark contrast to the world-weary Kratos we came to know and love since the 2018 game. Trimming down his physique and his skin now a much brighter white, young Kratos is a fantastic throwback for longtime fans, and more than gives Thor the true God of War he was looking for.
There he is. There's the God of War.
What is your favorite unlockable skin or costume for Kratos? Share your picks down in the comments.
No.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.